few conversations going on down there in the tunnel at the moment.
Having worked hard to keep the ball, now
He's off.
For nearly a decade, Roy Keane and Patrick Vieira epitomised the intense rivalry between Manchester United and Arsenal, captivating fans with their on-field battles and off-field confrontations. Keane, the embodiment of United's never-say-die attitude, a snarling Irish warrior who'd go through brick walls for his team. Vieira, the elegant French revolutionary who changed the face of English football with his blend of power and finesse. Their clashes defined an era, their battles etched into Premier League folklore. But what made this rivalry so special, and how did it shape the Premier League we know today? This is the story of Roy Keane versus Patrick Vieira, a rivalry that transcended football and became the stuff of legend. The year is 1993. Manchester United, in the midst of their first title-winning season in 26 years, sign a fiery young midfielder from Nottingham Forest. His name, Roy Keane. Little did anyone know that this working-class lad from Cork would become the heartbeat of United's most successful era. But how does a working-class lad from Ireland become the embodiment of Manchester United's winning mentality? For Keane, it was simple. Hard work, dedication, and an unyielding will to win. From the moment he stepped onto the pitch at Old Trafford, he was a force of nature. His tackles were crunching, his passes precise, and his leadership unquestionable. By 1997, he was United's captain, the on-field general for Sir Alex Ferguson's all-conquering Red Devils. But Keane's journey wasn't without its challenges. A cruciate ligament injury in 1997 threatened to derail his career. Many players would have been broken by such a setback, but Keane used it as fuel, coming back stronger and more determined than ever. In 1999, Keane led United to an unprecedented treble: Premier League, FA Cup and Champions League. His performance in the Champions League semi-final against Juventus was the stuff of legend. Down 2-0 early, Keane dragged United back into the game, scoring the first goal and dominating the midfield, knowing full well that a yellow card meant he'd miss the final. It was Keane in a nutshell, selfless, driven, and utterly committed to the cause. But as he was cementing his place as United's leader, a new challenger was emerging in London, ready to test the Irishman's mettle. August 1996. Arsenal, a club in transition, making a signing that would change the course of their history. Patrick Vieira, a lanky, relatively unknown 20-year-old from AC Milan, arrives at Highbury. Few could have predicted the impact this Frenchman would have on English football. Vieira was unlike anything the Premier League had seen before. At 6'4", he had the physical presence to dominate midfields, but it was his technique and vision that set him apart. He could break up play with a perfectly timed tackle, then launch an attack with a pinpoint pass. In his first full season, Vieira was instrumental as Arsenal won the double, ending United's dominance. Vieira's arrival signalled a shift in English football. The traditional, hard-running British midfielder was being phased out, replaced by these continental technicians who could control games with their skills as much as their stamina. But it wasn't just Vieira's play that caught the eye. His confrontational style, particularly against United, began to create sparks. And at the centre of those confrontations was often one man, Roy Keane. From 1996 to 2005, the Premier League became a battleground, and Keane and Vieira were its generals. Their midfield duels were less football matches, more chess games played with bulldozers. Every tackle was a statement, every pass a challenge to the other's authority. But what made their rivalry so intense? Why did these two, above all others, come to embody the United-Arsenal rivalry? Perhaps it was their similarities. Both were their team's captains. Both were the heartbeat of their side. They were the men their teammates looked to when the going got tough. Or maybe it was their differences. Keane, the snarling, aggressive enforcer, all short passes and crunching tackles. Vieira, the elegant giant, capable of smooth pirouettes one moment and bone-crunching challenges the next. Their battles became the stuff of legend. In 2005, at Highbury, came perhaps their most famous confrontation. Before the game had even kicked off, Keane and Vieira were at each other's throats in the tunnel, with Keane famously telling Vieira, "I'll see you out there." It was a microcosm of their rivalry, intense, personal, and utterly compelling. But their rivalry wasn't just about personal animosity. It drove both players to new heights, pushing each other to be better, to dig deeper, to fight harder. In doing so, they elevated the entire Premier League. The Keane-Vieira duels became appointment viewing, not just for fans of United and Arsenal, but for anyone who loved football. Their rivalry coincided with the Premier League's emergence as a global powerhouse. As television deals brought English football to new audiences around the world, Keane and Vieira became the faces of this new ultra-competitive league. They were more than just players. They were symbols of their club's identities. Keane embodied United's relentless winning machine, while Vieira represented Arsenal's new cosmopolitan approach. For almost a decade, these two giants went head-to-head, their battles defining an era of English football. But, like all great stories, this one had to come to an end. 20 years have passed since Keane and Vieira last faced each other on a Premier League pitch. In retirement, both have had the chance to reflect on their battles, to see their rivalry through the lens of history. Keane, never one to give praise lightly, said of Vieira, "Out of everybody I've ever faced as a player, he drove me to become better." Vieira, for his part, has called Keane his favourite enemy, adding he was a leader, a winner. "I loved every aspect of his game."
It was this kind the rivalry between, of course, the two clubs. I think as an Arsenal player, you always wanted to play against the best at that.
The battles are now remembered fondly by both men. They've even appeared together as pundits, their on-screen chemistry a reminder of how the greatest rivalries are built on a foundation of mutual respect. But what is the legacy of Keane versus Vieira? In many ways, their rivalry marked the end of an era. The Premier League they dominated was a different beast to today's global entertainment product. It was harder, more physical, defined by personal battles as much as tactical nuance. Keane and Vieira were the last of a dying breed. The all-action, box-to-box midfielders who could dominate a game through sheer force of will. But their impact on English football cannot be overstated. They raised the bar, showing what it meant to be truly world-class in the Premier League. They inspired a generation of midfielders who grew up watching their battles, dreaming of one day having that kind of impact. More than that, Keane and Vieira showed us what sport is all about at its core. Not just winning, but testing yourself against the very best, pushing yourself to your limits and earning the respect of your greatest rival. In an era of PR-managed quotes and sanitized rivalries, the raw, authentic competition between Keane and Vieira feels like something from a different time. They were competitors, warriors, leaders, but above all, they were perfect rivals, each making the other better, each driving the other to new heights. The Premier League has seen many great players since, but has it seen a rivalry to match Keane versus Vieira? Perhaps not, and perhaps it never will again. Their story is a reminder of a time when football was as much about personality as it was about skill, when rivalries were forged in the heart of midfield battles, not in social media spats. And for those lucky enough to have witnessed their battles, will always have the memories of when two of football's greatest warriors went head-to-head in the greatest show on earth.